Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of September 4th, 2016. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a big week, and part of the reason that it is an important week, well, actually, there's two really big things happening now. One, of course, is Jupiter changing signs. Jupiter will move into the sign of Libra this week, and I think that this is going to be our saving grace, not only now, but in the 13 months to come. And that is because Jupiter is moving into the sign of balance and harmony and diplomacy and equality, right? I love this. I love that Jupiter is moving into the sign of Libra because I think that this is going to help all of us in our own lives, but also collectively on the planet, to take a pathway of moderation, to see things in a more balanced way, and to consider other perspectives. So I'm really looking forward to this for all of us. I spoke about this at length in the Jupiter special horoscopes, whether for your sign or for the collective. I would encourage you to watch that as part of celebrating this big move. And as I said, I think this is going to be our saving grace this week. And there are no accidents, right? Particularly where it comes to how the universe, how the planets are reflecting what's happening here with us on the planet. And in particular, we are having the third and final exact moment in the extended conversation that's been taking place between Saturn and Neptune. This is going to be an important moment for all of us, and particularly I think that this and how it is as a collective that we approach this and we deal with this and how we learn from what transpires now is going to speak volumes, particularly in light of Jupiter's move into Libra and all of the promises that are there because of how Jupiter's going to bless us as a collective. So I have spoken at length about the Saturn-Neptune square that has been taking place. The first occurred in November, the second in June, and now here we are at the third and final eclipse. Not eclipse, sorry, it may feel like an eclipse because we actually are in the middle of eclipse season, and that's part of what makes this time special. Saturn speaking with Uranus in this rare conversation, and you add the element of us being in between eclipses now. And that to me says that regardless of how events transpire, very quickly the universe is supporting us to get to that place of love and wisdom and balance and fairness. And that I think is the great promise here, that we are moving in a more positive direction. As I've said before, Neptune and Saturn speaking, ultimately, Saturn right now is in the sign of Sagittarius. And that is part of why we are seeing, as a collective, we're seeing a lot of sort of nationalism, if you will, different countries around the world. We're seeing this sort of holding on to basic identities, holding on to borders. All those Sagittarian things, right, that have to do with like travel and borders and visas. It has to do with the other and interacting with foreigners. That's Saturn in Sagittarius. It's helping us to get a reality check on how it is we view that proverbial others, what it is that we understand as country, as nation. And this is something happening around the world and around the planet. Then you add the element of Neptune. And as I've said before, Saturn and Neptune speaking, it is the planet that is further out, that the ancients said is more powerful. And so here we have Neptune, the more powerful planet in this conversation. And Neptune right now in the sign of Pisces is all about communion. It's about the collective. It's about compassion. It is about understanding that everything is everything, right? This heightened spiritual principle. We are now asked to actually live it in practical terms, to overcome our own resistance, to look at ourselves and our own prejudices, whether it is towards ourselves, towards our past, towards our understanding of what we're capable of who we are, but also, of course, in the collective as well, in terms of how we view our place, our social location in comparison to other people around the planet, whether we're interacting with them or just getting a sense of them through outside sources. So I've been a little resistant sharing these particular examples, but I do want to be forthright and I do want to explain a little bit about, so we can learn from what has happened and we can understand that this time with this particular conversation, some of the energy that we had to address before is going to be that much more heightened. So in November, what took place with this square, we had the attacks in Paris. And right around the same time, there was that huge amount of migrants coming into Europe. And when those very sad attacks happened, and I know I felt it very deeply, when that took place, at the time, there was an attempt to show that it was because of the migrants. And then very quickly, we realized, right, that more news came forward, more information came forward, and it wasn't. It was being blamed on them in order to stop that the compassion that was being shown by many nations, particularly in Europe. And also what was interesting to me was that many leaders in France very quickly said, we are not going to close our borders because that's not who we are. And so that chance to rise above our own prejudices presented itself and compassion prevailed. Now we move to the second one in June. We had a very tragic incident take place, and it was a young man who opened fire in a gay nightclub in Orlando. It was really tragic. And at the time, it seemed like this was based in some extreme philosophy, right? Some really warped worldview. That's what it appeared on the surface. But very quickly, it was revealed that that was not the case. It was an individual who actually was very much at war within himself, because he himself was homosexual and he was a regular visitor to this particular club. And that was identified, that this actually was an expression of someone's self-hatred, really. And that allowed all of us to start looking at how it is that we are contributing to people not being able to accept themselves for who they are, and the type of anger, the type of pain, the type of irrationality that that ultimately does foster. So now here we are. We're at the third conversation of these two planets. And I'm very hopeful that it doesn't have to manifest in ways that are as dramatic as they have before. As I said, we've got Jupiter in Libra. Also early in the week, we are going to have this harmonious conversation between the Sun and Pluto that I find especially encouraging. That does suggest to me that we will find our peace, we will find our way. However, ultimately, this is inviting us to see something about ourselves, about our own assumptions, about our own prejudices, towards ourselves, towards those who are ultimately our brethren. And how we approach that, how we deal with that. Now, it's going to manifest in different ways for people. It could be that surface stuff, right? The other. It could be culture. It could be religion. All of these factors come into play when you have Saturn in Sagittarius. But again, Neptune is more powerful. Simultaneously, we are going to have a couple of planets having a type of conversation. I don't focus on it that much. It's more of a modern conversation in astrology called a quincunx. But at times, it does speak volumes and does give us a lot of further understanding in what's taking place. And we are going to have Mercury quincunx speaking with Uranus, Venus speaking with Neptune. And what this says to me is that illusions will be high. There's going to be lots of different reports, lots of news coming in. And when something seems like it's one thing, very quickly in an instant will reveal to be something else. And so it's really important, regardless of what transpires, to keep an open heart and to keep an open mind. And I think that this is actually a lesson for our times. I've actually meditated on and considered and reflected on how much we as people, and it sometimes maybe it's natural, and I can understand the place from which it comes, but it is so much harder to look in the mirror than it is sometimes to point fingers and to point at others. It is easier. I think it's maybe on a level of our psyche. It's some sort of survival mechanism, if you will, to blame others rather than take responsibility. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, we are responsible for our consciousness. We are responsible for what we are putting into the world. And so much of what the world and is happening in the world is reflecting our own state of sadness, of desperation, and of fear. And that fear ultimately comes from some other sadness. I know it's been said that fear, like love and fear, are the root of all emotion. I actually think it is not so much fear, but it is sadness. It is sadness and love. And that fear is one manifestation of sadness that takes place. And I look at what's happening in the world and I see a lot of very beautiful people in a lot of pain. And a lot of people who are not able or not ready, and it's okay, that's where they are. And we all go through this, right? We're seeing ourselves in world events, and a lot of people who maybe do not have the ability or do not have that safe space to acknowledge their own despair, to acknowledge their own sadness. And that, I think, is at the root of a lot of things that take place. So how quickly are we going to get to that understanding? How quickly are we going to heal that? Well, I think a big part of it, or one part of it at least, is within ourselves, is by looking at our own selves and asking where it is within that we have a need to heal some sadness, to heal some despair. It might be small, it might just be in one isolated area of life, but by being able to acknowledge it and bring love to it, and particularly, most importantly, by bringing acceptance to it, we can go a whole and very long way towards transformation. Remember, more people than ever before right now in our history as humanity, more people than ever before live in times of peace and equality, and greater equality than we've ever known before on the planet. We do have a little ways to go, of course, and there are a lot of people who don't have that reality. And yet, by allowing ourselves to have that, by examining ourselves and thinking about where it is that we are not embracing our own right to be happy, to be peaceful, to be equal, where is it that we need to bring that sense of balance? That will absolutely be the saving grace this week. I, for one, as I look at the sky, as I look at the planets, I'm truly encouraged, and I do believe very much so that whatever it is that transpires, whatever it is that takes place, in your own individual journey, you can use it to move towards greater love and greater wisdom. And it is those moments of challenge that ultimately form some very powerful seeds of compassion. And it is compassion that heals. It is compassion that unites. And I do believe that this week, all of us in our own way are going to get that chance to summon an energy of compassion. Yes, towards others, but most certainly where we need it most, towards ourselves. Well, thank you so much for watching the introduction. I'm truly so grateful for it. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, thumbs up. It does mean so much. Thank you to everybody out there for making my 10th anniversary event such a huge success. I'm so grateful for it. I loved interacting with you guys online. And I know that we started on YouTube and then the technology is not as good as Facebook. And a lot of people were saying, move to Facebook, go to Facebook Live. And so that's what I did. I went on to Facebook Live and it was a great event. A couple thousand people joined us. And it was a lot of fun. I really, really loved it. And maybe I'll do it again because it was that fun for me. And so thank you so much. The contest, the giveaway is now closed. And around mid-month, I will choose, I'm not going to choose them. I'm going to have somebody else choose randomly. A few thousand people entered. I think about 2,000 people entered. And I'm giving away like 10 of a few different things. So those winners will be contacted personally right around the middle of the month. And I loved interacting with you guys so much. So I'm going to be doing it again in the form of all new classes. So the last real-time webinars that I did as part of Synchronicity University went so well. They were a huge hit. A lot of people loved it. And a lot of people said how much they loved the routine of logging on and interacting with me every Saturday, how much that meant to them. And it did mean a lot to me as well. And so I'm going to do it again in October. And really, as soon as that series was over in August, like that same day, people were messaging me and asking me to do more classes and suggesting topics. And so again, based on your suggestions and what you have asked to learn, I am now offering 4 new classes Saturdays in October. So it's the first 2 Saturdays and the last 2 Saturdays. And in the middle, thank goodness, October has 5 Saturdays, because it will be in mid-October that I have a speaking engagement confirmed in Southern California. I will talk about it as we move a little bit further into this month, but I really look forward to meeting a whole lot of friends and fans out there. But because of that event taking place over the course of the weekend in the middle of October, I won't be online. I'll be in person, like in real time, in real person. But I will be doing the webinars live with you guys the other Saturdays in October. And again, chosen by you. The first class I'm going to be doing is called When You Find Love. And it is based on looking at what in the chart indicates that a new love will be coming in and what type of relationship it's likely to be. The second class is called You in Love. And this is actually going to share some of the techniques that I use when I do the personalized horoscope that's called Luck and Love. So how you create greater opportunities and to understand yourself and what you need in a relationship. So that's going to be part of what the second class is about. So again, the third Saturday, I will be in Southern California. That'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to meeting lots of friends and fans out there. The fourth Saturday, I am going to be doing a solar return chart. So these are also called birthday charts, and they specifically use a technique that looks at what is happening this year of a life. So it goes birthday to birthday, and it sort of encapsulates what it is, the major themes that are going to come up in that year, and when you can expect important moments to transpire for you. So we'll be looking at that. And the fourth and final class is called Major Life Transits. Again, asked for, request by you guys, Major Life Transits. So literally we're going to go through and look at, what happens to people right around 14. Everybody right around 14 goes through something similar in their chart. Right around 21, something similar. Right around 28, something similar, and so on. So we'll be going through the phases of life. And especially living a full life, we'll be going right to about the late 80s, if you will, from birth to late 80s, looking at major life transitions, major life transits. So I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. Again, totally interactive. You guys make the class what it is, and the time goes so fast. I always book 2 hours, but it ends up going over. And video downloads. If you can't join us in real time, you can download the videos of the classes that took place. Also, the previous classes from the summer series that I did, you can download those videos as well on my website, nadiyashah.com, or at synchronicityuniversity.com. I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to learning with you. And I mentioned personalized horoscopes. So let me say, I do offer personalized horoscopes. If you would like a personal look at your sky, please do considering ordering one. I have lots of different areas of focus. So major life areas of focus, and 3 new areas of focus that have to do with luck and success, luck and love, and life purpose. So they tend to be, especially the life purpose reading tends to be very popular. So you can go onto my website, nadiyashah.com, to learn more about that. But of course, you being here is so meaningful to me. Here we are, right? I'm done 10 years of full-time astrology, and now here we are to the next 10, and we're going forward, and I'm so grateful for it. And of course, everything I do is to put out into the universe that the universe is wise and loving. That is the intention, that is the energy. That is the purpose and the mission to everything that I share. And my hope is that this moment, this video in some way affirms this truth in your own life in light of your own unique circumstances, that the universe is wise and loving. Finally, I just want to quickly say, happy birthday. Happy birthday this week to the most beautiful woman that I have ever met and have ever known in my entire life. And that, of course, is my mother. It is my mother's birthday this week. So a very big happy birthday to my mom. She's also my #1 fan. She's my unofficial PR person. She carries stacks of my cards with her and hands them out everywhere she goes. And she's always been a really proud mother and a loving mother. And I've said before, my parents, when I was growing up, I had to hear all the time that I was going to be prime minister. They were feminists, they were strong people, they were very progressive, forward-minded. And I was really, really fortunate to have parents like I have. And my mom, of course, is the first example I had of a strong-minded, a strong-spirited woman. So happy birthday, Mom. I love you. And happy birthday to whoever's birthday it is this week as well. You're in good company, but I might be a little biased with that. But yeah, happy birthday, Mom. Thank you. Again, thank you so much for all the introduction. Now, how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you and your sign is coming up right now. Hello, Fabulous Aries. This week, we have got the sun speaking in harmony with Pluto. Now, the sun is moving through a part of the sky that has to do with work and the workplace. You add to this the element that Jupiter is making its final hurrah, its last few days through the same part of the sky. And here we have you getting ready to reap the final blessings of Jupiter moving through a part of the sky for you that has to do with work, the workplace, and clients as well if you're self-employed, projects you're doing. Now, as I look at this sky, if you are somebody who's open to having a new job, if that's something you've been trying to do, this is one of the surest signs of just knocking any kind of interview out of the park, doing exceptionally well and making a good impression. And if you're in a job and you're happy there and you're good there, then this can be some kind of kudos, some kind of power move on your part to help you to solidify where you are, even if you want advancement, to help make that happen for yourself. So lots of positive energy there. This also can be really great for where it comes to taking care of yourself, using your days to take the best of care of you, particularly on a health level. So this can include some sort of improvement that takes place with you in terms of your overall well-being. So that's always good news, always good to know. I also really love where it comes to love, we've got a few very promising things happening. So first is, of course, Jupiter moving into your opposite sign. If you haven't already, please do check out your Jupiter special because love is very much the topic of conversation. Love is very much about what is taking place now and in the year ahead. But you add to that this particular week, we have got Venus speaking in harmony with Saturn. This can be really nice for solidifying love, for committing more deeply, for making love stronger. Now, those of you in an established bond, of course, you're going to feel this energy that much more because this really is sort of a grown-up way to approach love and what it should be. It's a mature understanding. It is also possible that with this energy could come some kind of a smart decision about the future of the bond that you are in. But ultimately what this says is taking a serious stock of commitment and being able to step up to the plate that much more easily, that much more naturally. Those of you who are open to meeting someone new, of course, Jupiter is going to help you a lot. But then, of course, we do have Venus speaking with Saturn. And this can be really good for understanding love in a more adult way, taking a more adult approach to love, being smart about it. If you're getting to know somebody right about now, this is going to be a desire to really pace yourself, to not necessarily kind of like, jump in head first into something new, but rather you're thinking very big picture, thinking at the larger aims. And this also does play a part, this particular conversation does say that you are understanding from a more mature lens what love has been for you. And with that new understanding, you really are able to take the best of what was and move yourself heart open in a more positive direction. Hello, Fabulous Taurus. This week we have the sun moving through a part of the sky that is super romantic on the one hand, but also super fun, speaking in harmony with Pluto, bringing with it downright transformative moments. Let your heart lead the way. Now, this is very encouraging. This is also very fortunate as well, and really allows you to focus in on what matters and just make a success of it. So, of course, this is going to speak to those of you who are looking at the sky in terms of love, particularly if you're open to meeting someone new. Get your flirt on. I know the Venus is speaking with Saturn. That can encourage people to play a little bit of a conservative approach, and yet having this particularly harmonious conversation between the sun and Pluto does suggest that any flirtation, regardless of how innocent, can really make a mark. And for some of you out there, it is love that can facilitate a truly transformative moment. So whatever you choose to do with it, it's always up to you. But this is love and romance that really can have you seeing yourself and life very differently and in a much more empowered lens at that. As I look at this sky, for those of you in an established bond, this sky also can suggest that the heart connection is made that much stronger and is going to be that much more important. But I actually think, as I look at this, that it really is going to be sort of the day in, day out comfort and reliability and sort of the scheduling, you know, if you will, because a big part of having an established relationship when you live with somebody is sort of navigating each other's schedules. Actually, for those of you who are in a long-term relationship, you could maybe relate to this. And this particular sky says that you get it, that that's part of love, and that you're able to do and willing to do what is required to ensure that the two of you are very much working together so that you still have the time and the deepening of commitment that matters to you, and that it shows up in your day-to-day existence. Now, in other news, aside from love, even though that's going to be big, we do also have in the sky an indication here about children. And if you are somebody who has children, this can be getting very good news, seeing a very positive change around a matter dealing with a child, whether it's your child or a child that you care about, a child that you love. For others, this is going to play out in terms of your creativity, and this is absolutely a time when, if you use your creativity towards your work, to your advantage in some way, whether you're an artist or otherwise, this is where just really you're able to harness some very powerful energy. And also, this is also where you could make some kind of a pitch to really help you to take what it is that you do to a more positive, more expansive level. Hello, Fabulous Gemini. Right about now, we are going to have that third and final conversation between Saturn and Neptune. And Saturn, of course, is in your opposite sign, making this position that much more important for you and especially meaningful in terms of the partnerships that you hold, the goals that you have, the career aspirations you have. All of that is going to come very much in focus. Now, some of you are going to experience this in the context of love, and others, in addition to love, may experience this in the context of business partnerships in particular. Those of you born right around the first of the month are going to feel this energy more than most, but everybody out there and every Gemini out there will be feeling some of this energy right about now, which is ultimately asking you to look at your expectations and to check your expectations, to look at where it is that you are asking for something reasonable and where it is that you are not. Where it is that maybe you have like very inflated view of what is possible or what should be happening. Or maybe it is that what you really want, and this is very possible, that what you want is not being supported by the evidence being presented to you. So what I mean by that is sometimes it happens, and we also got Mercury retrograde right now, so it really can happen. You could meet somebody, they're telling you they want something casual, you're saying you want something casual, and then it turns out it's actually very different for one person. That can happen under a sky like this. And so ultimately it is about being able to be honest about where you are and what you want and what direction it is that you believe that you are heading. So this is especially true for those of you open to meeting someone new or just recently getting to know somebody. So you do want to keep that in mind. It's very possible with this energy that you meet somebody and you're thinking it's one way, and then very quickly it reveals itself to be something else. You're hanging out with somebody 3 hours in, lots of drinks, lots of conversation. All of a sudden they start talking about their spouse when they weren't mentioning that before. It's like, oh, okay, you have a spouse. That's the kind of stuff that can happen with a sky like this. At the very least, if something like that should happen, it'll give you an interesting story to tell your friends, perhaps. Those of you in an established bond, this is about checking where it is that you actually are with this person, and if it is where it is that you need to give them more of a break, give them more leeway, and where it is that you've given too much can be part of how this energy plays out. And in business partnerships in particular, considering that Neptune is at the very top of your sky, it is very much about, does this person and is this person part of helping me to get where I want to go, helping me to achieve something meaningful to me, something big to me. And if not, then this is going to be that chance for you to honestly evaluate if what you are requesting or what you are expecting is reasonable or not. Are you doing your part or not? And ultimately, this is about getting more honest in your relationships and in your relations, especially those important one-on-one relationships. Now, elsewhere in the sky, we do have the sun at the base of your sky speaking in supreme harmony with Pluto. Now, it is this very part of your sky that's been getting a lot of attention over the last couple of weeks, and now recently we had the eclipse at the very bottom of your sky as well, getting a lot of attention. And so home matters are very much in focus, whether it is buying or selling or moving or roommates, whether it is your home of origin, your family of origin. It is these particular areas of life that would be getting your attention now, and this is where some of that attention pays off. This is where, if things didn't feel as stable or as steady or as certain before, this is where the final answers come through. This is where you can make a power move towards a change that you have been desiring. And this is where you start to feel that the universe is conspiring to help you to feel that much more at home. Hello, Fabulous Cancer. What a powerful week it is for you for a whole lot of reasons. One, of course, is the fact that the sun will be speaking in supreme harmony with Pluto in your opposite sign. This can lend itself to a powerful understanding through conversation as to where you are in terms of love. So whether it is that you're in an established bond and you're talking to the person you love, or you're open to meeting someone new and you're talking to somebody else about where you are right now in the context of love and why you think that is and what has happened and where you think you're going, all of that, I look at this and I have a feeling that in the midst of a conversation, you will understand a certain situation very differently. And this sort of, the penny dropping will provide the impetus for some very important change for you in the way that you approach love and relationships, whether it is the love you have or the love that you want, whether it's with someone that you're interested in or just talking about the past. Regardless, this says to me, change through the mind that reaches the heart, that helps you to feel things differently and understand things differently, that can truly lend itself to some very positive changes that ultimately do bring in greater love, and particularly the type of love that you truly desire. Now, elsewhere in the zodiac, we also have Venus right now at the bottom of your sky, speaking in harmony with Saturn. So Saturn right now is in a part of the sky for you that has to do with work and sort of your workplace, the day in and day outs, especially if you have a work environment, if you're self-employed, this could be the clients in your life as well. And this, to me, this beautiful conversation says something to me about you understanding the best way forward, you understanding where you've been and how to use that to move yourself in the direction you desire to go. Now, this is especially going to be beneficial to those of you who work with homes in some way. So whether you're in real estate, whether you do redecorating of houses or renovations, if you're in any industry related to that, or you have a home-based business, you will benefit that much more from this energy and be able to make some very solid and secure gains and able to understand what you're doing in your work that much differently and find yourself making some very steady improvements with what it is that you're doing. But of course, all of your sign, all Cancerians out there will feel this energy in a positive way, helping you to see the importance and the personal satisfaction and self-respect that comes from doing your work in a way that makes you happy. Hello, Fabulous Leo. This week we have got this very powerful sky playing out. And for you in particular, we have Saturn right now moving through a part of the sky that has to do with dating. It has to do with attraction, and it is speaking with Neptune. And Neptune right now in a part of the sky for you that has to do with investments of time and of money. So you put that together, and that does suggest perhaps a date or a flirtation that ends up costing you a whole lot. So do keep that in mind as I look at this. And also, this does suggest if you are just getting to know somebody, this can suggest learning some truth about that person, and you're like, should I say something? Should I not say something? How am I going to deal with it? So ultimately, that is up to you to decide in your own unique circumstances. With this particular energy, there's also something to be said here with children as well. And I do think that part of growing up, depending how old your children are, of course, but especially once they get into like adolescence and the teen years, they need to have something that they feel is their own. So they will sometimes keep things private or try to keep things from their parents. And it actually, from what I understand, this is a very healthy part of development. But having said that, you might find something out along these lines. It is possible. Doesn't mean it has to be anything big. It doesn't mean it has to be any kind of serious thing. Just keep in mind that it is possible with this energy, how it's playing out, that you may find out something and then you're like, okay, is it worth saying something? Is it not worth saying something? And deciding the best way forward for you. Now, also this week, we do have Venus. Venus right now in a harmonious position for you in a part of the sky that has to do with talking things out, speaking in harmony with Saturn. And Saturn right now slowly moving through a particularly romantic part of the sky. And so I have a feeling as I look at this that yes, we've also got that energy that is confusing. As I said, you're getting to know somebody, you're dating them, and you may realize this is costing you a lot in some way or some secrets. However, talking it out directly or with somebody else could go a long way towards helping you to understand the best way forward. Also with this, if you are a writer and particularly you use creativity with your writing, this is where you could have a key conversation with somebody that helps you to, whether it is write better or it is to get your writing sort of out there a little bit more. That type of energy, very blessed with this. And also, I do gotta say, if you decide to attend some type of talk, some type of class, like a short skill building thing or a book signing or something, a small workshop this week, you will find that that experience itself ends up creating multiple rewards, not only in terms of your own sense of knowledge and happiness, but also utilizing what you learn in a very practical way towards your overall prosperity. Hello, Fabulous Virgo. What a brilliant big week it is for you. And I actually think, yes, there's stuff happening in the sky that's not necessarily so easy, but for you, I think it's not gonna mean as much or phase you as much. And that really is because of two key other things happening in the sky, two key conversations. One is the sun in your sign speaking with Pluto. Now that is just like having the power in your hands, nothing less. It really is whatever it is you desire to do, whatever you're desiring to change, time it for this week, particularly in the middle of the week, because your effort really will go a very long way. If there's any kind of big ask, particularly because Mercury is retro in your sign, if you are re-asking something, it can go exceptionally well for you. You add to this the fact that Venus is speaking in harmony with Saturn, and Venus right now in a part of the sky for you that has to do with your income and money that you earn. This does suggest, again, any kind of ask, even a financial ask, could end up going exceptionally well for you. If you are a person who works in homes, with homes, home-based business, this energy works that much better for you to help you to see some sort of pay raise or some sort of hike in income that lasts. It's not going to be something that's just a one-time thing. This very likely is going to be a source of income that you can rely on for a period of time. Now, where it comes to matters of heart and where it comes to matters of love, I'm very encouraged by the fact that you do have that conversation between the sun and Pluto. That can be very good for strengthening the heart and very good, especially for flirtations and first meetings. However, you do also have Neptune in your opposite sign speaking with Saturn. And I do think that those of you, particularly in established bonds, it is possible that this is going to be especially one of those times where you're like, okay, do I have what I really need? Does my reality match my desire, my fantasy, my aspiration, or not? So you will be having that sense of a reality check, if you will. And that could end up being something that allows a sense of soul searching to take place, to ask yourself, as I said before, a lot of this energy has to do with what are your immediate assumptions and what is the reality, right? This is really going to play out for you in the context of love, especially those of you who are in an established bond, but even for those of you who don't. And this ultimately, and the answers you find ultimately, can end up being tremendously healing for you as you take greater responsibility for the type of love that you truly desire. Hello, Fabulous Libra. This week we have got Venus in your sign, speaking in harmony with Saturn. Now, I love this for you. It says to me stability. It says to me security in many different areas of life. Now, I have been telling you, and I think I told you last week as well, maybe it was in the monthly horoscopes, I said Venus in your sign is really great for any kind of makeover or any kind of change in your appearance. Well, this is where this week, and especially earlier in the week than later, is where some change, some purchase, particularly if it's related to pleasure or beauty, these types of things can go exceptionally well for you. So if you're looking to make some change. Now, Mercury is retro, so my advice would be try not to choose something where maybe you might change your mind, okay, because that can happen. But as I like to say, it's just hair. Do what you want with it. It's just hair. And have fun, of course. Also this week, we do have this very interesting conversation, of course, playing out that all of us are going to be feeling. And it has to do with Saturn and Neptune. So Saturn right now in a part of the sky that has to do with the conversation and having that conversation. And speaking with Neptune, the chance of, getting misinformation, having a conversation that ends up being a big waste of energy, I'm sorry to say, that is very possible with a sky like this. So my advice would be, especially if it has to do with the workplace, especially if it has to do with a coworker, if there's any kind of key conversation that needs to happen, unless it truly is very urgent, unless it truly is that you don't have a choice, you have to say this. My advice would be try and pace yourself a little bit, try to give it a little bit of time, because all might not seem as it appears. And, I also want to say, and I'm really sorry to say, but this can sometimes also indicate dishonesty among a coworker as well. And so that further enforces for me that if it seems like something is a certain way, it may not be. It really might be something else. So it is important to have that sense of perspective, or to just give yourself that little bit of time as you start exploring possible explanations. But ultimately what this does say is that you are learning how to communicate something about what you are perceiving. And you're learning to perceive in ways that are more precise. And that actually can end up being, in this lesson presenting itself to you now, as you're dealing with coworkers, as you're dealing with clients, if you're self-employed, ultimately this lesson can help you to learn and to say what it is that you most desire with greater precision, yes, but also with greater positive outcomes. But of course, Libra, I cannot let you go without saying that Jupiter is entering your sign this week. That is huge, that is big. Throw a party, get some balloons, do yourself a favor and enjoy this, because it is going to kick off an entire 13-month period of all kinds of brand new beginnings for you. Regardless of how things may seem on the surface, and even if these little things take place that are taking some of your attention, ultimately you have luck and blessings with you, and you are gearing up to make a whole lot of very positive changes that lead you to greater happiness are starting to take root right now. Hello, Fabulous Scorpio. This week we have an active sky, and a lot of that activity for you is happening in a part of the sky that has to do with money, and it has to do with finances. So this is going to be something you do have to be a little bit mindful of. I have a feeling as I look at this that there might be something that you are wanting to either spend money on, but it may be that others think it's frivolous. You're trying to say it might not be frivolous, that it's necessary. It's also really possible with this of, and I will always be straightforward with you, but this energy does suggest, it's kind of like buying a lemon kind of energy. So it's really important with this sky not to, I would advise maybe not investing a lot of money in something, particularly something like electronics or anything with a lot of moving parts, right? No cars, especially just right about now. Only because this sky does suggest that there might be some key details that you're overlooking. There might be some expectations that are not met. And so again, it looks like it might partly be for fun, but it might also have a practical application, and there might be a whole lot of expectations and hope around the product. So if you can just wait a little bit, you'll be glad to do so. With this particular energy though, there is something to be said here about making money and spending money. That's going to be emphasized with this. And so how you go about doing that and what's worth your money, what's worth your time, what's worth the resources and energy you put into it is going to be part of the consideration. Even if it feels like your answers aren't completely as clear as you like, you will find your way forward. And a big part of that way forward has to do with the fact that the sun right now, moving through a part of the sky that has to do with friendship, is going to speak in supreme harmony with your modern ruling planet Pluto. This is very encouraging to me. This does suggest to me that there's a sense now of possibility, and really, very possibly, it is a friend that is part of facilitating some new opportunity for you. In fact, it could be with a sky like this that a friend just very casually and very spontaneously introduces you to somebody, and it ends up being a very important contact for you, whether it is for your success, but also possibly in love as well. So when it comes to matters of heart, we are going to have some very interesting energy playing out here, and this particular conversation between the sun and Pluto does say something about, right place at the right time and the right person. Very possible with this sky. If you're in an established bond, it's very possible with this energy that some very spontaneous plans get put together, and in the process and as part of it, ends up lending itself to some conversation, lending itself to a newer understanding that helps you to really understand the past and put the past behind you and appreciate the love that you have. In some way, this can also be making a grown-up choice, especially if that choice has been sort of put to the side for a moment. Making a grown-up choice rooted in knowing who it is that you really are, and knowing also and having a sense also of what it is that is going to help you to move your life towards greater love. Hello, Fabulous Sagittarius. So I had some wonderful Mercury retrograde things happen with your horoscope. And so when stuff like that happens, which doesn't happen very often, right? It happens like, once every 2 years? But when it happens, I take it as a sign from the universe that whatever it was that I was meant to share with you, it wasn't in that. It's in something else. And since my studio is all quiet right now, I thought, why don't you come out and enjoy this evening with me? Beautiful evening in Cancun, and the Caribbean Sea behind us, so that's pretty cool. So hello, Fabulous Sagittarius. This week is particularly important for you. We have Saturn in your sign, and that Saturn is, of course, speaking with Neptune. It is the last of 3 conversations that have been taking place. So think back to what was taking place in your life, November and June in particular. Because over the course of these last few months, as the celestial conversation has been taking place, one big lesson really is that happiness is grounded. Happiness comes when you actually do something. It isn't based on belief. It isn't based on theory. It isn't based on meditating and communing with any kind of, whatever it is that you define as love and wisdom. It isn't just purely communicating with that, but really love and wisdom is in the nitty-gritty. It's in the details. It's in how you live day in and day out. And what you are manifesting can be a powerful mirror to you. And to know that ultimately those dreams, those aspirations, there is a reality more beautiful, more profound, and more meaningful that is yours to be had. So that is part of the larger celestial conversation that has been taking place for you for a while now, really. And this is also one of the ebb moments over the course of this 3-year cycle of having Saturn moving through your sign. So you've got Saturn moving through your sign since last year, 2015, 2016, 2017. This is one of those few ebb moments so that you can utilize the best that Saturn is promising you, which ultimately is happiness. A happiness that is real, a happiness that is grounded, and a happiness that is well earned and truly yours, rooted in self-respect. Well, this week takes you leaps and bounds forward in that direction towards greater self-respect as you accept a key reality for you, as you accept where it is that you haven't been fully honest with yourself, and you look at what is and you decide how you're going to make the absolute best of it. And making the best of it is not only what you will do, but you will shine through this time. We also have Venus speaking in harmony with that Saturn in your sign. This is great for love. This is great for understanding love, what love has been, what love is going to be for you today. And this is really great for you having a sense of self-love, self-value. This is the sweetness. And this is also you seeing the advantage to actually incorporating some of the things that you now are ready to do. There's a very powerful moment set to be had for you. For some of you, it may be quieter. Others, it might be a little bit more dramatic. But ultimately, it is this moment that is leading you in a direction to appreciate that actually there is a celestial love, of course, an enlightened love that you have access to, that you can own, that you can embody. But there's also a familial love. There's love from other people, including romantic love as well, that is affirming something to you, that you can see yourself more kindly, that you can see yourself in a way that allows you to forgive where it was that you weren't ready to see certain key things, and to also celebrate you, enjoy you, but have it be an enjoyment that is truly based on knowing what it is that is worth giving your energy to and what isn't. I absolutely love this sky for you. I think it is going to be a fantastic week, a week of really checking your own assumptions, but also really being honest with yourself. That is key this week. Being honest with yourself. What do you really need to be happy? Where have you bought into a dream that ultimately is not of your own choosing? Where have you tried to follow a script that was very well intentioned, but really is not your truth? And as you come to those conclusions, as you come to that realization of your personal truth and you own it, you will find that all kinds of great things, self-respect, self-love, and also practical gains are set to be made. Hello, Fabulous Capricorn. This week, we've got the Sun speaking with Pluto in your sign. The Sun in a super harmonious position to you, and as I look at this, it does suggest that in some way the world is opening up to you. So yes, we have Mercury retrograde in this part of the sky. Yes, the expectations or what manifests in the fullness of time might be different than you expect. But if there ever was a time when you were going to sign some kind of power deal where you're going to take what it is that you do to a much bigger audience than you've known before, this is a sky that very positively supports that. It supports some change that allows you to feel like your life is moving in a direction that feels more prosperous and helps you to feel that much stronger. Now, some of you might just manifest this in terms of travel or an opportunity to travel. This also can be really good if you're engaged in any kind of legal matter or an immigration or citizenship matter as well. Of course, we do have this conversation taking place between your ruling planet Saturn in the sign just before yours and also in Neptune. Now, with this particular energy, what I would invite you to be mindful of is maybe, and again, I want to be straightforward with you because this is gossip that turns out not to be true, or maybe even people directly saying something to you and it's a misrepresentation, especially if that representation is made in words, spoken or written. So you want to be mindful. As much as it looks like, yes, that power deal could come through, and yet the sky does say be very careful when signing contracts this week. Now, this energy is going to pass, so no worries there. And like I said, yes, we have all this other stuff happening that says good things can happen, but it also says watch the fine print. Just be mindful of what it is, as clear as possible as you can be, and then make the best choice for you as you head in a direction that ultimately will reveal itself to be very likely something different than you anticipated, but very possibly something better. Now, where it comes to matters of heart and matters of love, if you are in an established bond, we do have Venus right now moving through the very top of your sky, speaking with your ruling planet Saturn as well. I look at this and it says that very possibly the person that you're in a committed relationship with, the longer term relationships, those are the ones that may come through for you in a way that helps you to feel that much more solid and secure. So it really is that your partner right about now either does something very overtly, does something very quietly, that in some way helps you to feel that much more secure within that bond. It could also be that you hear something about something that your partner did or said that ends up feeling very warm to you, feeling very good to you. If you're open to meeting someone new, it is very possible with a sky like this that someone who either has achieved something you look up to, or a boss does something that maybe expresses some feeling, or maybe it's just very innocent, but ultimately it does look like you have a very strong grip on what's right, what's not right, a strong grip on what it is ultimately that you are trying to achieve, and that ultimately will be what it is that helps you to guide your choice. And whatever choice it is that you desire to make, it is truly up to you. Hello, Fabulous Aquarius. This week, we've got an active sky, and for you in particular, we've got your ancient ruling planet speaking with Neptune. This is particularly interesting to me for a few different reasons. So one is the fact that we've got Saturn right now, your ancient ruling planet, in a part of the sky that has to do with friendship, and it is speaking with Neptune in a part of the sky that has to do with spending money. And this particular conversation says, be very mindful about giving money, spending money in a direction that has to do with friendship or groups that you belong to. If there's some type of membership you're trying to hold and they're telling you that, the price to join is very high, that should tell you something, right? And especially if it feels like it's very high, that can tell you something. Now, another way that this energy can manifest as well, of course, is that a friend hits you up for money. That can tell you something as well, well, what kind of friend it is. Now, doesn't mean it could be a really good friend. But if you are being asked for money, and if you have it to give, that's a beautiful thing. But if you don't have it to give, if it's a strain for you to lend it, that's where you want to be a little bit mindful under a sky like this. Also happening this week, very big news taking place, and partly it is really what's happening in the sign of Libra. Venus is in Libra and Jupiter moves into Libra. So this particular part of the sky for you has to do with travel. It has to do with the whole world being home, and that is what it's going to start to feel like right about now. So big moves are going to start to happen, and you'll notice blessings show up for you, and particularly where it comes to putting yourself more out there or really interacting with people who are very different than what you've known before. In a very fundamental way, you are a people person. So allow yourself to be introduced, to be social, to be out and about. You'll only be glad for it. And especially when it comes to matters of love, it is very possible that someone that you meet now on very friendly terms could be someone that manifests into more, or at least can be someone who helps you to understand love differently. If you're in an established bond, this particular sky does suggest that this is going to be a time when you start thinking about what adventures you can take on together. At the very least, you'll find something about your hopes and your wishes and some of the aims that you have, the larger aims that you have, being changed thanks to love. Hello, Fabulous Pisces. This week we've got this active sky, and for you in particular, Saturn will be speaking with Neptune in your sky, and Saturn right now is slowly moving through the top of your sky. So as I look at this, it does suggest this whole question around what should I do? What am I meant to do? What is my purpose? What is my life purpose? These are the types of questions that would be arising right about now. And I have a feeling as I look at this, for at least some of you, there might be that feeling that what you have been doing is not exactly what it is that you want to do anymore or are meant to do anymore. So that is part of how this energy can manifest. But also, I do gotta say, for a few of you out there, this energy can manifest in a way where you have some type of experience, possibly with someone who's achieved what you want or in a position of power that lends you to question your own career journey, your own path. And I also have a feeling as I look at this that you might meet somebody who's achieved what it is that you want, and you might say to yourself, wow, do I want to be like that? I don't know if I want to be like that. Something like that becomes possible under a sky like this. And the great thing is ultimately your unique answers will empower you. And this is an important part of this journey that Saturn has been taking through the very top of your sky. Slowly but surely, you're working on and aligning yourself with a sense of your own purpose and also career as well in a very practical way. And this is where you have an important lesson that allows you to refine your way forward. Saturn will still be in this part of the sky till the end of next year. And so what that suggests is this important moment allows you to set the stage for even bigger achievements that are truly meaningful to you, that are certain to come up in the pathway ahead. Now, where it comes to matters of love, we have the sun in your opposite sign, speaking in supreme harmony with Pluto. This is huge. This is beautiful. This is powerful. If you're open to meeting someone new, this is the last burst of blessing. Jupiter's making its last sort of, making its last run, if you will, the last couple days in your opposite sign. And so what this suggests to me is if you're open to meeting someone new, absolutely a heart connection and very possibly a very passionate connection is very possible. If you are in an established bond, this is where really the truth comes forward. And very likely it will be a truth that is empowering, and very likely it will be a truth that you like very much. Well, thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.